Welcome to another episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. Today we are diving into the real world journey of making mindfulness, awareness, and heart centered practices accessible, especially for those who don't naturally gravitate toward them. We will explore how simply reframing concepts like pause, notice, and choose into everyday language like mind, breath, and heart can open new doors for personal growth, connection, and resilience. Whether you are analytical or intuitive, this conversation is for anyone seeking practical tools to navigate life's triggers and find balance. Yay! Hello, everyone. Hello, Steve.
Good morning, Polly. Happy Friday. And this is another episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. And I'm Steve.
And I'm Poli. I was
Yeah,
looking
good
forward
morning.
to you saying, I'm Poli. No.
Yeah, I did that once, and you did not edit that out. So whatever episode that is, it's memorialized forever.
Yes.
Very
Yeah, and if you
good.
want to listen, go back and listen to it.
I will do that.
Yes, when Steve is impersonating me. Steve, we were talking about good stuff here, and that's how we are kicking it off, right?
Yes. I mean, that's how this whole podcast idea originated, was from conversations, and that's how this today's episode is originating, from a little conversation Polly and I were exploring before we hit the record button this morning.
Exactly. And this, what we were exploring is that we've got some responses on the pause, notice, and choose, the episodes before we had recorded on it, and how some people find it either it's a change of like a mindset, or sometimes they are not there yet on thinking it. So we thought of exploring a little more, coming from us, from what we have experienced with pause, notice, and choose. And Steve, you do have a good takeaway on that.
Well, sure, I can share that. So, and it was prompted by several things, but my background and training is as a public accountant, and did that for 43 years. And certainly, different personalities, very analytic. And there's a lot of professions and just whatever personality assessments. There's a lot of people that are more head centered, or at least they start in the head and then it goes to the heart, and other people, it flows the other direction. But so being an analytic in my journey through this conscious leadership, which is being aware of our ability to influence and to be more aware. We've talked in several episodes about pause, notice, and choose. But in one of our exchange approach sessions over the last 2 weeks, the presenter shortened the phrases mindfulness, breath work, and heart centered, which I can tell you, in talking to, in trying to share this work and the power of the inner work with many of the people I'm associated are very much like me, very head centered, very analytic. I mean, that's why we do what we do. And those words, mindfulness, heart centered, breath work, just don't land. For example, 18 months ago, uh, even though I joke that I'm a closet yogi, I have these I have 3 seasons of a TV show that was produced in Canada, Namaste Yoga, and I really love how they connect the breathing with the movements. I get that, but even with that experience, if you say mindfulness to me 18 months ago, I picture a yogi in a pose, Indian style in a corner, maybe with some sense flowing and some humming going on. That would been, so the head centered. Well, what the heck? I know I got this problem to solve. I'm not going to sit in the corner and humming. So that would be, so mindfulness, I just totally dismiss it. And in breath work, I would be like, well, when I run, I'm out of breath. I'm not in as good a shape as I used to be. So is that breath work? And so my point of those two stories is that mindfulness, breath work, and heart centered are words that weren't landing in at least in the people I was sharing the work with. And when the presenter from the event we were in the context, they just used the words mind, breath, and heart. And at the same time, they were showing one of our illustrations, and I'll just air draw it, Polly, but it's where we have pause, notice, and choose. We actually show that inside of a heart. And about the same time, he said mind, breath,
It's
and
basically
heart. You want to show
like
that,
this, but
Polly?
yes, it's so we do have the heart
Mm-hmm.
with the pause button,
Yeah.
B and C.
Yeah.
Pause, notice, and choose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when he used those shortened phrases, mind, breath, and heart, that heart, he was scrolling through his slides, and at the same time that pause, notice, and choose thing popped up. So here's what went off in my mind. It was like this aha moment. Wait a minute. I'm not sure if this is necessarily the right order, but here's how I'm connecting the dots right now in this moment as those shortened words and that graph flew by. Wait a minute, Steve. To pause, we have to be mindful. Now it may be an emotion that came up, but if it doesn't connect with our mind, we may not pause. So I thought about, well, wait a minute, I think all three of these connect with pause, notice, and choose. So we have to be mindful, but the word mind works. So think of mind as the pause, and then to really notice breath. I mean, when we presence ourselves, hey, something's going on here. I'm going to engage. I want to stay connected to Polly, and even though she's kind of, I don't really know if I agree with what she's saying, but I want to stay aware. So now, as I listen, I'm doing like the Jedi breathing, just breathing a little deeper, breathing the proper way, belly first, chest. But that's helping me stay present and helping me
Mhm.
uh, notice what's going on, and maybe bringing me to more active listening, which helps me notice what she's saying, not what I'm hearing, but what she's actually saying. And then finally, the heart, by pausing, the mind trigger, hey, I need to stop, breathing, noticing, we can now choose a more heart based approach or heart centered approach. And I just found that interesting for the old analytic accountant. Words that wouldn't land for me 18 months ago, and still don't land in many of the communities, of analytical people that I'm surrounded by and I talk to, how just shortening the word to mind, heart, and breath. Well, I mean, we're breathing anyway. We might as well learn to breathe properly. So that's my observation, and I'll let you jump in, Polly. I mean, that was basically a little bit of our conversation before this meeting. And what's that bring out for you?
It's just amazing. I got the words like 18 months ago, that wouldn't land.
Hmm.
And the process is not overnight, but you were open to learn more about the process, to understand what is going on. What is this thing? Oh, but I'm more rational or emotional. How do you find coherence and balance between both? And it took 18 months to go through. And even now you adjusted the words so that they are meaningful for you. And this comes to show that each one of us work differently. For me, maybe just like listening, yes, it's the mind connect to the heart and the head. And when we are working, it's easier to, hey, bring the head and then you bring the heart, like the ration. It works because for me it lands. Because probably in this matter, it is just this, but for others, it's like a process. And it's a learning curve for me, seeing how you processed this. And so whenever talking to, like, even with my audience, it's not talking like, hey, it's easy, come on guys, how can't you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
we have 20 videos. Just jump on it's like trying to jump on a motorcycle that's going 40 miles an hour somehow instead of jumping on one when it's standing still. You just made me think of something. One of our friends in the community, and this, you've probably heard him say this, but when I first heard him say this, it really expanded my willingness to think about the heart, the mind, the heart, and
Mhm.
and the breath all being connected. And he used this. I think this is the way he shared it: is that our head does all the questioning, remembering, uh, pondering, questioning, remembering, pondering um, items. And our heart has all the answers because our heart always knows the truth.
Mm.
And then our gut feels everything. But while it's feeling everything, if we're present, it's also informing not only the heart, but the mind. Knowing, remembering, thinking, there's one more in the head. But I just thought that that was very helpful to me, that they all have their part. But in the end, there is the intuition or the gut or the discernment that you need to pay attention to because it is informing both the heart and the head in some sequence.
Yes, it's amazing how our body talks. And
If we are aware,
exactly.
if
That's
we're willing to
that was
listen,
the point that I was going to get, and you
yeah,
got it. Yeah.
yeah,
Woo,
and
bonus time. Yeah.
and we have 20 presencing practices, and some are breath work, some are helping us with our awareness. I will tell you, I probably have six go-tos. And I probably have six of those 20 that just don't resonate with me. Um, but what I wanted to share is one that really is helpful for me and really helps me, I think makes me do a much better job of pause noting and choosing, is the tour of the senses, where you're really going through and just taking time to sit still. And we won't repeat that exercise now, or maybe give a mini version of it, but it's you can either see in or see out. And so you go through a
Mm-hmm.
sequence of just sitting still and see out. I noticed the little blue light on my camera. So you're just saying that to yourself. See out. Out of my left eye, I see one of my lights. See
Mm-hmm.
out. It's a beautiful sunny day looking out of my window. Then you reverse it and you do see in. It's generally best to close your eyes then, but you might see. I see, the lights. I can tell my studio lights are on. I see that. I see in. Oh, there's some colors going on in my eye. And then you repeat that with hear out.
Yes.
Like I hear a little space heater going through this thing, and then hear in. Just notice what you notice. So we'll
The
do that tour of
voices
the
inside.
senses
Yeah.
sometime, or maybe when you post
Yeah,
this
and you can
episode,
also
Polly.
refer to some other episodes we've had that.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe you could just
Mm-hmm.
post that for more on the tour of the senses.
Yeah.
Watch this episode. But I was really sharing that not to demo that practice again, but to share it that has been really, really helpful to make that a daily practice for me because I believe that it increases my awareness. And I know that I am checking. I use the word check in place of pause, but I'm checking myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm aware that, okay,
Aware. Yes,
yeah,
that's a
I'm
great
aware
word.
that,
Being
yeah, I'm not
aware.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what Polly is sharing with me right now that I'm on board with, but I have the ability to notice that and then lean in and through the breathing, it helps me make sure I'm listening to what she's saying, not just what I think she's saying or what I've already projected. So that's what Polly
Yeah.
and I talked about, and we thought it'd be
With
helpful for you to share. What else is going on with you,
I'm
Polly,
just
in
gonna
this?
share here. Like you were sharing the pause, notice, and choose, and I can share. I usually go to the breath first. Also,
Mhm.
that's like because when something triggers me, I feel in the core, like the core, literally my heart pumping too much faster than it usually is, and I can feel it in my ears, how it as if it's exploding through my ears. And I went through a moment like that the other day, and what I brought the attention, the awareness to the breath, but I was still so triggered. And what really helped me at that moment was journaling.
Oh,
And interesting enough, that journaling, because of the time I wasn't talking to anybody else at the moment, I started journaling and I was like, you know what? Let me exchange some ideas with ChatGPT. Don't go there for ChatGPT is not a
okay.
therapist,
You went to your
but
research assistant named
yes,
Chat.
but it was interesting, like because then I was just venting and what questions can you ask me here so I can see from different perspectives. That was like my prompt. My prompt is so I could think in different way. But that was interesting, and it really like, given 30 minutes later, I could feel myself being back to my balance. But it was like a different approach for that specific moment. So as you said, we have a different tools we can use in different moments, but we do need to be aware and bring those tools to work.
Yeah, I really like what you just shared because questioning is a form of pausing.
Yes, that's the
And
very first
I
point.
have bought in, and I do believe that our world changes as soon as the question is asked,
Yes.
even before the answer appears. So Dan Sullivan, founder of Strategic Coach, phrases that in language that says our mind cannot ignore a good question. And I believe that to be true as well.
And it worked.
Yeah. And
Once again,
I find it interesting
GPT is
this,
not a therapist, but it
yeah,
was bringing some questions like, so I could think through different perspectives. Yeah,
yeah.
at
So a
that very
podcast
moment.
on questions and conversations, Polly just shared an example where self-reflecting and journaling led to some questions, and she used her research assistant to help prompt her with some questions.
There you go. Yes, yes. That's how I did.
So there are so many tools out there to help us if we're willing to pause and notice and listen to others. Hey, I'm struggling with this. Do you have anything you might recommend? A video? There's just, information's abundant, but we still have
Hmm.
to have people around us to help sort through that information um,
Yes,
and find
yes.
what's most helpful in this moment for who we're choosing to be.
People. I like that you rephrased that, reframed that.
Yeah.
We need one another. We
Yeah.
need our one another to grow.
Yeah. Community is velocity. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we've shared this story in another episode, but, I'm 38 years into my career and really, in the head, doing the numbers, really good at it. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and it wasn't this dramatic, but I tell it this way, what, there's people? There's people, there's more than numbers in the world.
I
And
love
I
that
love my
thing.
daughters and I had people in my life, but it was in work, I just wasn't as open to conversations that did not involve what I was working on right now. And when I opened up from that and, finally got it, boy, did my world open up, and it's a lot more fun having questions and
And
conversations with
conversations.
people,
Yes.
like-minded or otherwise.
That's wonderful. Yeah. We are all different.
Yeah,
We all have our own timing.
yeah,
And we can do better when we are together. We can
yeah,
grow faster, as you said,
yeah,
community's velocity. Oh,
yeah.
that's been wonderful, Steve.
Yeah. So to land this plane we've been flying, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners, Polly?
I would just say if you want to share what you usually do when you were triggered, when you were going through a situation, share your tools with us because it's always good to have some extra.
Yeah,
And we go through this moment. So, what are your tools? Do you go
yeah,
for a walk to the gym? Do you, what is it? What is your pause moment? And even if you had not related to what that pause is, try to think about it and share with us.
yeah. That will be great. Well, it's been another delightful day. And our listeners, this has been another episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. And I'm Steve,
And then, Polly, you
and
have a
make it a
good
great
day.
day.
There you go. See you
Bye,
soon.
Polly.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. We hope today's reflections inspired you to discover your own ways to pause, notice, and choose. And if you have a favorite practice or tool for regaining balance, we'd love to hear from you. Remember, growth happens when together, and community is velocity. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave us a rating or a review, and pass this along to someone who might need this conversation today. Until next time, make it a great day. Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life is hosted by Steve Campana and Polly Bellin Wilson. Produced by me, Polly Bellin Wilson. Music copyright by freetouse.com.